Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the discussion on enabling seamless, secure anywhere banking experience. The session is powered by SHRO and HPE Aruba. I am Nishant Saxena from ETH, welcoming you all to this ET Live Roundtable. Against the rising threats from fintechs and digital banks, banking institutions being forced to reinvent their banking models and adapt to the digital age to stay competitive and relevant to their customer base. With anywhere and anytime banking, the customer has the ability to connect from any place and at any time. Technology and networks play pivotal roles in the era of digital transformation. Connectivity has never been so important as it is today in this pandemic inflicted transformation. Technology, therefore, will help achieve a balance between flexibility, automation, security, and affordability at the edge, where banks deliver experience. Banks need to remain compliant on one hand and provide customer experience at lower operating costs. The connectivity over any media is key to running the operation successfully. It's the era of anywhere banking, of doorstep banking. Banks require variety of mechanisms for securing the distributed enterprise, including sophisticated threat management with intrusion detection and prevention, complete with policies to streamline the handling of the threats. To shed more light on the same, we have with us today Mr. Praveen Sharma, General Manager IT, Union Bank of India, Mr. Sony A, General Manager and Chief Information Officer, South Indian Bank, Mr. Srinivas Rao Mupaneni, Group CIO, Telangana State Cooperative Banks, Mr. Abir Banerjee, National Business Manager at Hewlett Packard Enterprise, Mr. Madhav Pandey, Enterprise Business Head, SHRO Systems Private Limited. And to moderate the session, we have Mr. Ashwin Mishra, Consulting Editor, ET Edge. I would like to request the audience to post their questions in the Q&A or the chat window. Ashwini will take them during or at the end of the session. Without any further delay, I request Ashwini to take the session further. Over to you, Ashwini.
Thank you, Nishant, for the introduction and setting the context. Good morning to all our panel members and to all our viewers. It is a privilege to moderate this session in the presence of senior IT leaders from the industry, and we look forward for a very insightful discussion on this topic. The ongoing crisis has changed the business landscape overnight, forcing businesses to lead in new ways and rethink how they connect with their employees and consumers. From my conversations with IT and business leaders, especially in the BFSI space, I've found that there are three key areas that they are all focusing on as they look for rebound and growth. The first is how they rewire and reshape themselves, how they can take advantage of a digital, cloud-based, mobile-centric world and use advanced technologies, whether it's artificial intelligence or machine learning inside their operations. The second is how they can leverage massive amounts of data and bring advanced analytics into their business. And third is how they use the digital resources out there to innovate for their customers, design new products, new services, and in some cases, entirely new business models to drive growth. To support all these activities, the role of the enterprise network and connectivity will be critical. It will be essential for banking enterprise networks to support the omni-channel strategy, delivery of services, and ensure smooth and continuous operations. Keeping in mind that the remote or the hybrid work is the future, enterprises will also need to redesign the networks accordingly. With this background, let's have the opening views from Mr. Sharma. Mr. Sharma, the pandemic has flipped almost every aspect of normal life on its head, and the banking world is no exception. How have you responded, recovered, and started to stay ahead of this crisis stronger by listening and taking employee and customer-centric decisions? What have been the challenges for you?
Yeah, thanks a lot, no, Mishra sir. See, public sector, has a different challenge altogether. Whether in terms of adopting the technology or making a cultural change. So see, in the public sector, it's not the technology adoption. See, technology adoption is quite easy, and you can adopt that and implement. But the cultural change is always a challenging task in the public sector organizations,
Right.
because we run a legacy of 100 plus years, and after amalgamation, it is becoming almost a 300 plus years. So there is a mechanism, there is a way, which bank is working, and that kind of challenge always be there. So, but on that side, there are ways and means to really take care of that. So, what we have done, to handle this, pandemic situations. So we have permitted from work from home kind of solutions, and we have gone ahead with the VDI kind of solutions, wherein we are able to capture the details and all. So those setup has really helped the bank in meeting the latest timelines. And if you see, the banks are the organizations who has, irrespective pandemic situations, we are there to support the nation.
True.
And
Yes.
in all together the tough times, my branch locations are permitted to work. So they are there to work. But yes, the technology has supported all such kind of delivery, that everything is available, and the availability has been on the highest layer. So yes, with all the great partners which we have in place, I know that is something which is possible. And bank is able to roll out new products, whether it's a straight through or the full automation. So we are also implemented wherever it is possible, the robotic automation, so that the reduction in terms of manpower can be there. And even if people are not available at office, the job is able to do. And the monitoring piece is majorly from the from home. So
Mhm.
those kind of setup has been created, and which is really helping us to deliver the solutions.
Any challenges that you would want to share? I'm sure there would be a plenty.
Yeah, so challenges, majorly comes, when the team is not able to come to the one place, and demand from the field or demand from the business, that you have to deliver in a quick time. So that area takes time, because that kind of collaboration in this pandemic situation is not that easy for the public sector organization. So that is the one challenge. But yes, that has been with the Zoom or Teams, that is giving an help to collaborate easily, and making sure that we are able to deliver in time.
Right, right. So initial points well taken, Mr. Sharma. Mr. Soni, let me come across to you as CIO of South Indian Bank. How are you looking to deliver a digital infrastructure that supports modern applications and services? And I'm sure the some of the concerns that Mr. Sharma raised would also hold true for you as well. Also, if you could highlight the performance of your enterprise network, any challenges that you face around it.
Yeah, thank you, Ashwini. Yeah, so basically, as a bank, we have always believed in staying ahead of the curve in terms of technology adoption, and to give best of breed solutions to our customers. So, in terms of investing in the right tools and techniques and people and processes, I think we definitely had a little bit of a head start when COVID hit us, and that meant that we did have work from home solutions in its let's say basic avatar at that point of time, which was already being deployed by privileged users and so on and so forth. We had a robust network architecture which was supporting all our 900 plus branches, and 1300 odd ATMs, etc. In terms of being ready for the pandemic, we were already prepared as a bank. Since you mentioned about digital transformation and the fintech adoption and all of that, I think that's see, at the end of the day, it's the business that drives most of these decisions, and you need to be prepared for the new business models that are coming up. So
True.
as a bank, we had a three-pronged strategy which we have deployed quite well. with the first strategy being around offering a lot of self-service capabilities on the digital channels. And with pandemic, that became a huge, a benefit for customers and bank alike, because we had a lot of new customers coming onto our systems, our channels, and attempting transactions, attempting services, and fulfilling them all on their own without having to come to a branch, and which was obviously necessitated to a certain extent by the pandemic. In fact, we did have an increase in our digital percentages to the tune of almost 10% immediately after the pandemic hit us. So today we stand at around 94% of our transactions being in the digital mode. So the self-service strategy has worked quite well.
Very
And
well.
we had to be very prepared by building capabilities for some of these, surge in volumes that we were anticipating in any case. And this has also been aided to a large extent by the ecosystem that we work in. All banks in India are fortunate to be a part of, wonderful interoperable systems like UPI, which
Right.
is humongous amount of growth potential. And you would probably be aware of the fact that the growth that is happening in that segment is, something that the country has never seen. 3 billion transactions, 3.5 billion transactions in a month. So you as an entity who is participating in this interoperable world, you have to understand that you cannot always predict your peak load, and therefore you have to be prepared with sufficient amount of buffer and capabilities. So that has
True.
helped. The second strategy that we had as a bank, because as Mr. Praveen was mentioning, we also have a very rich heritage of 90 plus years, and therefore there are customers of ours who are very loyal and who would rather prefer to come to a branch. We have a strategy which we internally call as nudge strategy, where we are trying to nudge some of them to the digital capabilities by empowering the branches with more and more of smart capabilities in the branches, be it in the form of kiosks, be it in the form of tab, be it in the form of bot support in the branch, which actually helps some of these initially reluctant customers to go on board. So that's something that requires a lot of bandwidth also to a certain extent, because whatever was earlier being interpreted in the human element or human layer had to be done in a machine layer, using various techniques, and we have done that reasonably well, and that's a story that we are continuing. We also have opened our first digital branch in Bangalore, which is primarily to cater to all customers who would just want to drop in to get their problem solved, because transaction wise most of them are in any case able to do a lot of things on the channel.
Channels, right.
So these are the things that we have done in the branch. And then finally, we've invested a lot in third strategy, which is to automate using RPA, AI, etc. There is significant amount of automation that has happened at the back end to ensure that the TAT remains. Now, so these are the major investments that has happened on the customer and on the branch front. And to power us with all of this, we have invested in tools and techniques, keeping in mind the fundamental principle that while we expand in a dramatic manner, while we partner with fintechs and all of them, because you also are aware of the fact that banks are moving on to open banking, wherein you are
Right.
actually offering API-based banking as a service model to a lot of players who are now coming up. We have to keep a balance between convenience and security.
Security.
And
That's
that,
very critical. Yes.
so if you look at the entire OSI layer, you need to have this thought in mind at every single layer. So while you expand, while you offer newer things, you have to be mindful of the fact that security is one of the most critical elements that needs to be done. But you can't overdo it, neither can you fall short. So the right sweet spot has to be achieved as far as that is concerned. So those are the things that we have also done in the last few years to keep ourselves ready for the future.
Right. Interesting points, Mr. Soni. So while the immediate response was to stabilize the core business, now we are seeing companies further their digitization efforts to sustain their operating models and provide new interactions and services. A lot of automation that is going on within the banking space. Mr. Rao, let's hear from you as Group CIO of Telangana State Cooperative Banks. What have been some of the ways that you have adapted to this time of tremendous change, both internally as well as for your customers?
Yeah. So after listening from Mr. Sharma and Mr. Soni, it's altogether a different platform that we need to work on. They are basically being commercial banks, having a lot of investment capabilities, and also the other side, their branches are comfortably placed in the urban or semi-urban locations. Ours being rural cooperative banks, we totally most 90% of our branches are in the remote rural locations. So we are handling 10 banks here, and with 1,200 brick and mortar locations where we need to support. So they specifically, as investment itself is a constraint, we have to cope up with the challenges that we are facing, particularly post-COVID, and also with the commercial banks like where Mr. Sharma and Mr. Soni are heading the technologies. So the challenge is that the customers are customers. The customer of a cooperative bank or a customer of a State Bank of India or HSBC Bank are similar. So customer asks everything to be in place. Here, the challenge is with lower capital costs, lower operating costs, how to satisfy the customer. First point, Mr. Sharma has very clearly mentioned the cultural differences. Cultural differences, the cultural, bringing all the people to the latest things, it's very difficult for us, specifically with the rural people. They prefer to come to the branch. They prefer to come to the branch, and they prefer to do the transaction in the branch itself. But during the pandemic, it has become very difficult. Most of the places, so rural areas specifically, they have closed the areas where the branches are located. So there, the major challenge is how to drive the business without getting impacted by this COVID. There, the real challenge started for us. Okay, earlier days, technology used to be the support activity, but now really technology is driving the complete business. Precisely. So there was no option even to the business leaders or the management to support technology to bringing digitalization.
True.
So immediate challenge that what we have faced is the connectivity. So connectivity in the rural remote areas, some of my branches are working on the mobile connectivity even today, where we don't have even the level in the MPLS, no broadband connectivity, no internet connectivity in any form. So that area, we faced a lot of challenges. In some of the days, we couldn't connect the branches also. But there, our partners like HP and others, they came up and they have supported us like anything. And we have implemented the SD-WAN solution across this all our 1,200 locations. So there, even the mobile connectivity is seamless today, and none of my branches are having any downtime for the last 6 months. So that kind of investment and that kind of support that we have taken. Again, the cultural changes among the staff and also among the public. So there, what happened is that public, they want to come to the branches. They want to work with closely with our people in the branches, and they want to get the work done. So how to bring these people onto the other channels, delivery channels like mobile banking or internet banking or on the tab models. So we educated them by going to the places and also talking to them over phone that this is the problem. So you will not be able to come to the branch. So these are the areas where you can do the transactions. So like that kind of cultural change also we have brought in most of our customers. And during the pandemic, our organizations have increased on an average 20% of business growth that we had. So that kind technology has driven in that way, and we are successfully able to overcome this pandemic situation. And our state cooperative bank is the lowest NPA we have today. It is 0.14% is our net NPA today.
Very interesting. Very interesting, Mr. Rao. So good, so there were challenges, and you have, in a way, mitigated them by use of right technologies. Abir and Madhav, I'll come back to you in a minute. I guess Mr. Sharma will be leaving us, so I'll have this one question for him before he leaves. Mr. Sharma, so the story for most of the banking industry is more or less similar. Now, organizations are also operating in a phygital world, if I may call it so, operating from multiple locations, devices, and networks. How are you trying to rethink about your networks? Are you trying to make it more AI enabled, if possible?
Yeah. So, see, as I initially was mentioning, see the kind of setup which we hold, uh, we cannot so quickly move to entire thing to the digital.
Right.
And it has to be a
A
combination.
gradual.
It has
Yeah.
to be an hybrid. So just to update, so we are presently holding in the range of 70 to 73% transaction through digital mode. And in a larger chunk, we are also pushing the lending areas, from the digital side.
Right.
Yes, the branch network is going to be play a major role, maybe down the line till next 5 years or so. But if that continues, that will be very futuristic. And parallelly, we are also trying to build the new platforms. Wherein, say like I mentioned, the lending on the fly, or the straight through from the customer end till the disbursement. So those
Right.
areas we have already initiated, and we are live on certain areas. But parallelly, those are the things which will be taking us to on a larger areas, and more so the integration with the fintechs.
Mhm.
See, the fintech integration is going to play a larger role. So, which as a bank, we are entering into those areas. For certain things, we are already there. Certain things maybe in the future, we may be barging into that area. So that, because finally for the bank, lending is the key
Key. True.
to hold. So till the time we are able to manage that, I think we are there. And as far as the ecosystem is concerned, so some people feel that fintechs are taking away the business from public sector or the private sector, but I have a little different view there.
Right. So, many of
Uh,
them call them as challengers.
yeah, so I feel there are a lot of space available for all to settle, and without banks, fintechs also may not be able to do, and vice versa. For the banks also need the fintech, and fintech need the banks. So it's a collaborative approach, which bank is looking for. So if I have a collaboration with the fintech also need me, I also need them. So
True.
then the both can sit together and final and take to the business perspective. So those are my views in terms of going ahead, and the physical is going to stay for maybe down the line 7 to 10 years.
Right. Points well taken. Abir, I'll have you in this conversation. So we have heard, a CIO speak about the challenges and the areas where they have, done a lot of changes over the last year and a half. How is HPE Aruba enabling digital transformation journey for enterprises? So that they shift their focus to business transformation rather than just building and running their infrastructures. How are you trying to address these concerns?
Thank you, Ashwini. It's wonderful to be part of this session. And having had heard the three CIOs speak, in terms of possibly the challenges and how the challenges got overcome, I would say that network or networking technologies or data communication would never had been so important as it is today, right?
True.
Just tell me a scenario where possibly did any of the banks face an outage, a major outage in the pandemic era? Not necessarily, right? At least we have not heard. And I just want to give you an insight. This whole discussion of secured anywhere banking or anytime banking, I would like to say, right? We envisaged the situation when SARS epidemic happened in the United States. And that was the time when we realized that there is going to be a shift in the way of how customers behave, in how the consumers will react, and yet the business needs to undergo. Just let me give you a very interesting scenario. Right? As I speak right now, due to unavoidable reasons, I had to come. I'm almost actually standing in a very remote village, which is near a forest in Nainital district, right?
Oh,
and
okay.
yet the fact that and I did a couple of banking transactions since morning, right? I did put in my mails. all on the fly on the road, right? So, which essentially goes on to say that without technology, banking today is a bit of a misnomer. Now, as we speak, right, and since we heard that the alternate channel banking has significantly increased over the last 1 year or 1.5 years, as we speak, the network administrator or the system administrator might be sitting in his home. The customer for the bank could be either in the bank branch or could be in a railway station, and the management might be done from a cloud, right? And the way of connectivity is what the customer, the staff who is doing the system administration, or the customer, right, could be over a 3G, 4G connectivity, could be over a broadband connectivity, or could be over a Wi-Fi connectivity from the home. In spite of it, the expectation is that it needs to deliver. It
Right.
needs to deliver with the same class of service, with the same quality of service, and with the same service levels, right? That's what we are trying to address in today's world. Okay, that's exactly what we are trying to address in today's world, which essentially means that on one hand, connectivity has become all across, but along with that comes this aspect of the threat surface, right? So therefore, we cannot talk about networking or connectivity without keeping an eye on security.
Right.
Yeah, in isolation, without keeping an eye on security.
Right.
And just to add to it, the way we are trying to connect ourselves is either from the home or from the office or from the campus or from anywhere. And where does the data reside? The data could be in the bank's data center or it could be in the cloud, which essentially means that the communication is anywhere to anywhere, anyone to anyone, any place to any place. So therefore, there's this relevance of the way that the Telangana Bank had established, right? If you have to reach out to the wider mass, and yet you have to deliver the same quality of service as you can do in a metro, the only way could be to do it through software-defined mechanisms. And when we talk about software-defined mechanisms, right, automation needs to come into play. And that is the reason we put an emphasis on AI/ML-based network automation, right? Because today, the network administrator is not sitting in the office space, right? We brought out a very interesting solution, which we call the work-from-home solution, right? Because we did this in the SARS outbreak. What if the staff, right, of the bank gets to see the same SSID sitting in his home, which he gets to see in the office, which essentially means that the home has become an extension of your office. The office desk has come to your home, right? That's where we are trying to take this to. So 3 things: security, software-defined networking, and working from anywhere are the 3 tenets, right, on which possibly the next era of digital transformation, right, which could be COVID infected or whatever we call it, is going to be the reality. Yeah.
Right. Points well shared, Abir. So we'll come back to some of them as we progress in this conversation. Madhav,
Sure.
let's hear from you. So we have heard great insights that have emerged, till now, and in their quest to craft the intelligent enterprises of tomorrow. And I'm sure it will not happen in a day. It's a gradual process. How is Shro helping its customers in this digital transformation? How are you trying to reorganize the banking ecosystem around digital?
Okay. So first of all, a very warm welcome to everyone, all the panelists. A very good morning, and very good morning to you, Ashwini, also. So,
good morning.
Yeah, thanks. So, Shro, we are 33 years young. I would not say 33 years old, but 33 years young. And over a period of these 3 decades, we have evolved. We have all the young blood. We have all the new technologies. With the help of our principal vendors, we deliver to any industry vertical and any type of customer challenges. Now, when you talk about digital transformation journey, it is a very, very important role, specifically in these times, in these pandemic times. Now, what I could do apart from the solution in which we can provide, we have a distributed pool of engineers available with us. Now, when I say distributed pool of engineers, it includes some engineer pool on, say, VDI, as someone from the panel said. Some engineers on the network, some are on the wired and wireless, some are dedicatedly on the security side of it. Now, this specific pool of engineers will cater to the specific requirements, and for customer there will be one single project manager who will be assigned. so that he has to talk to only one person and then everything gets coordinated from over there. That's one point of looking at it. Second is, I heard Mr. Soni has said we have to strike the right balance, and exactly that's what we communicate to the customer through our consulting area. Now we have a consulting team who consults on any and every type of IT requirements. I have a separate pool of expertise for that, and they provide all the what you can say is expert advices or what should be done and what not should be done, or what should be done gradually as a phased manner. That all insights and everything can be provided. These these expertise which I have, or which we have rather, is certified on different certified and trained on different technologies. When I say technologies, probably I don't want to say the products, but I would say work from home as a technology, VDI as a technology, or SAP HANA as a technology, or any fintech, be it FinOne or something like that. All these, they are certified on it. When I say certified, we would provide infrastructure ready for these type of applications or these type of workloads, and we are trained on that. We have successfully implemented a lot of some of these solutions at a lot of BFSI industry customers.
Any examples that you have, Madhav, around this, if you could share work from home situation, if where you have enabled.
Sure. So it's not about, so everybody was talking, I was about to say this, everybody was talking about work from home, and that's the perfect example right now. And that's a very good question, Ashwini. We have done a work from home solution for one of our customers where they wanted to extend their exact corporate network to their homes of the users where they would be working, because in this pandemic everybody was working from home. And we have done this with the help of Aruba technology, and we have given the entire secured network access to users home for wired as well as wireless both. Everybody talks about secured wireless network inside the user's home. We have given secured wired network also. And for that, again, as I said earlier, I have a trained team of engineers and architects who designed the solution and given it. However, one more thing which I wanted to add, Ashwini, is everybody is talking about work from home, but at some point in time, you have to come back to office, right?
Right.
At least the pandemic is over. Nobody is talking on back to office. But fortunately, I am here to talk about it. Me and Shro and Aruba has a fantastic solution on it for back to office solution. BFSI has to come back to office at some point in time, and as I believe right now, this COVID thing will keep on happening years on years. So I don't know when it will be totally vanished, but let's assuming that it will still be there with us, living inside our body. We need to find out a solution that if we find somebody who is COVID infected in a particular office area, how do we quarantine that area? How do we identify that this person has been in contact with these 2, 3, 4, 5 people? And how do we, then quarantine or take a corrective actions on it? Maybe do some tests and send them to the doctor or something like that. We have a very good solution on it, which is called as back to office. We call it as a contact tracing solution, and that is perfectly delivered. We have already demonstrated it to a couple of customers, and probably as we speak, maybe in a couple of days' time, we are expecting a rollout for that also.
Right.
That customer is already a Aruba customer.
Right. Interesting insights, Madhav. I guess we'll come back to those in a short time from now. Mr. Soni, let's have you, and let's have this free flowing now. So rather than me choosing anyone, we've also seen cloud gather a lot of momentum even in the banking space. And what has been your cloud strategy? Is it at the center of innovation and on your digital agenda as well?
We have had a very conservative sector as BFSI, as you would know, has been very conservative in cloud adoption, and that's because as an industry, this is a very heavily regulated industry. We are dealing not only with the huge factor of trust, which is what endears customers to banks.
Right.
So when we are looking at banking, even though we talk about open banking, even though we talk about interoperability, new models where non-banking players process significant amount of transactions, and I'm referring to the Google Pays and the third-party players, who are not banks, but they end up processing transactions and giving good customer experiences. In spite of all of that, it is actually the bank which is owning the customer, and the bank is responsible for not only the financial data and its security and the trust element, but also about all data points and data attributes about the customer
Customer.
for which the
Right.
bank is the custodian.
True.
Now, from a cost angle and from a convenience angle, it would have been very easy for most banks to migrate to cloud because they already had significant amount of centralization of application stack, etc., that was there, which would have actually given them a very good or very easy lift and shift strategy. But the reason why we have, all of us have been slightly tepid and slightly careful is because of the regulatory aspect and primarily because of the trust that the customers have in us, and therefore we cannot fail in that. Second is the regulation. I mean, you know that in our country, RBI has played a stellar role in terms of ensuring that customer data is sacrosanct, it's paramount, and you would have also heard about various regulatory aspects about data localization that has happened. So these are all touch points that are very critical when we look into cloud adoption. Finally, now we also have the government about privacy data protection, the bill that is getting introduced very soon, which is
Right.
also
Yes.
very similar to the GDPR regulations that you have in the Europe, which is also something that all of us are keenly watching because we are introducing new concepts such as consent-based data sharing, etc. So to that extent, the banks have played a wait and watch approach. But having said that, there are a lot of experiments and a lot of engagements that banks have done in some form of cloud adoption. Some of us have opted for hosted model in a captive data center model, etc., where typically we are using or consuming things like software as a service, but it's not on a public cloud per se.
Right.
These are more captive solutions on a hosted model, which is working well in many, even in our instance, we have gone and opted for that wherever we are seeing a value in that vis-a-vis holding it on-prem. So we have, as a bank, prepared clear strategies on cloud adoption. We are very clear in our mind that whenever we are partnering with the fintechs or partnering with other players, if there is an opportunity for being a cloud native solution, we are prepared for that.
Prepared for it.
We have detailed, benchmarks and frameworks that we have prepared where we evaluate the strength of the partner in terms of offering these services in a secured manner, in spite of it being available on the cloud. We are also, aware of the regulatory aspects that come around cloud, not only the localization, but the fact of auditability and the fact that the banks ultimately are responsible. So with all this in mind, if you really ask me, apart from the lift and shift strategy, there are a lot of things which the banks are looking for in terms of cloud. For example, we talk about the triad of confidentiality, integrity, and availability, right? Availability is a very, very critical element. And these are the classic cases where banks can actually rely on cloud-based services, wherein you don't need to invest in a completely redundant infrastructure, application stack, and space, which probably gets used only when the bank triggers a planned DR or when it is faced with a crisis situation. And therefore, there is value for money in that, provided all the other tick boxes are maintained. There are a lot of things where the banks, like, for example, log analysis, storage, etc., where cloud could be adopted as a key area. Further, we are also looking at analytics as a practice, to what extent we can actually move to cloud. So it has been a calibrated approach, while there might have been a couple of banks which might have jumped and done something in a more aggressive manner. As an entity, we have been very calibrated and conservative.
More of a cautious approach that you're taking.
What the strategy is all in place, and as we speak, we are actually doing a lot of discussions and evaluations on executing the roadmap that we have. But as I mentioned, it doesn't mean that it's a complete on-prem stack. We have other models which have worked well, so it's a combination of a high
combination of both, right? Mr. Rao?
Yeah. Mrs. Soni has rightly pointed out, we are working in a heavily regulated environment, specifically. So adoption of cloud in this current digital environment or highly digital environment is mandatory, and we can't do away with cloud. presently we have 10 banks and around 1,000 primary agriculture cooperative societies where we are having our own data center. This itself is a private cloud. So we have created a
Right.
private cloud and we are providing services to all our banks. Being at the state headquarters, our state cooperative bank is handling the responsibility of providing this private cloud to all our constituents there.
Mhm.
So again, working with fintechs, it is almost mandatory that you need to work with at least part with the cloud, because most of the fintechs, they work from the cloud environment. So we have implemented a digital hub kind of thing for the rural areas, where we have provided the micro ATM facilities for all the digital transactions are enabled on the mobile devices. There we have tied up with 4 fintech partners where they are fully on the cloud. So I need to integrate that cloud with my on-prem
On-prem.
solution. So that is
Right.
mandatory. There is no option. But one thing is very clear, that we can't do away with the on-prem, and we can't go to the cloud, as at least in the near future. As rightly mentioned by Mr. Soni, in this regulated environment, the complete responsibility of the either financial data or the PII is totally with the banks. So
Right.
in many of the conferences like this, I asked some of the service providers of cloud, even AWS or Google or whoever is providing, none of them have assured that mine is 100% secure. And also, they doesn't want to take any responsibility of any security incident.
Precisely, and the concerns are valid for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
regulator is clearly mentioning that the responsibility lies with the institution, financial institution, for all the security, data security. So that's the area where we have to be very cautious when we are adopting this cloud.
Very interesting. Right. I guess, we are nearing the cutoff time. Final comments, Abir,
Yeah.
Madhav, if we could have them from you.
No, absolutely. I think,
Go ahead, Abirda, go ahead.
okay, yeah. Hey, thank you. I think both Mr. Rao and Mr. Soni, I just have a perspective to this word called cloud. And it's very wonderful that we are discussing cloud, at least in a banking forum, which possibly 10 years back, we wouldn't have even spoken about, right?
Right.
Since I have seen the banking emergence from at least the early 2000s, when we started the core banking initiatives across all banks. My take about cloud is that cloud is not necessarily a public cloud. It is just not about Amazon or Google. Cloud for me is a shared services model. Cloud for me is a consumption model. Now, whether I give you the application from the cloud, or I give it to you from your data center itself, right? So I can actually give it to you from your data center itself, and I can still make it on a consumption model, which essentially means that storage, I give you the network, I give you the hardware, and yet I will bill you as if you are sitting on a public cloud. Because for me, cloud is a commercial framework at the end of the day, because behind every cloud, there will be a compute, a storage, and a network, right? It's how I deliver, how I make it consume to you. So it could be a subscription-based service, it could be a consumption-based services, but at the end of the day, cloud definitely has its own benefits, right? But what if I give you the benefits of a private cloud and bill you as if you are in a public cloud, right? So that's how I look at it. And if I were to take it in the realms of networking, I think the era of where the bankers would like the network to be run on any media, whatever the service providers give them, broadband, internet, MPLS, internet lease lines, but yet the network has to run. And it can only run if I'm managing it from my NOC, from an outsourced NOC, from a remote NOC, or from a remote service provider's area. But at the end of the day, I still need to deliver you the same deliverables using the infrastructure at your premise. It's only the management layer that could be running offsite. That's how I look at it to this particular question of yours.
Right. Very well captured. Yes, Madhav.
So, first of all, when Abir was talking about cloud, I can see some clouds at the background. So that was a nice combination. So what Mr. Soni said and Mr. Srinivas said is perfectly right. Due to all the regulations, especially in the BFSI industry, they cannot go full on cloud. They have to have some on-prem, and they have to have some on cloud. But the beauty, which I would just add what Abirda was talking about. The beauty of the solution which Abirda was talking about is as a consumption or as a service model. So whatever problem or whatever application you want to port, whatever workload you want to run, and whatever infrastructure is required for that will be our KRA. We will own it, we will size it, we will deliver it to you, and we will charge you as a service. So
Right.
probably Mr. Soni and Mr. Srinivas, leading both of one of the biggest giants in the BFSI industry, they might feel that I want to go for cloud, but I cannot go due to RBI regulations or some certain security norms. But cloud is the best suited model for me, so that I don't have to oversize my infrastructure purchases. I don't want to buy extra, so that if there is any surge in the requirement or in the infrastructure resources, I don't have to run away at last point in time. That's exactly probably what Mr. Soni and Mr. Srinivas and customers like them would be having in their mind. And this is the exactly perfect solution. Be it network, be it compute, be it storage, everything can be consumed as a service, and we
Right.
have that solution. And I'm very proud to say that we are one of the first in the country who has successfully implemented, and it is running now for last 4 years. And now a lot of other customers are also, even from the BFSI industry, are also going for it. Probably as we speak right now, I am very glad to say that I'm about to close one of the transactions for as a customer in a BFSI industry. It is one of the largest leading lending company in our country, and they are going ahead with it. The main thing for them, which drive this entire journey, was they want to consume everything as a service. They don't want to buy a certain capacity of say 100 terabyte, and they probably are using only 80 terabyte out of it, and then 100 terabyte will never get consumed, or probably get consumed over a period of 2 years or 3 years time. And at
Right.
that point in time, Mr. Soni and Mr. Srinivas must have faced this challenge, that at that point in time the technology has been obsolete. There is something new will come up in technology, and then you have to buy the entire new storage. I'm just giving a raw example of storage. Similar is the case with networks also. You're buying Wi-Fi 6 access points right now, and probably something new will come up at after 2 years or 3 years. Then what will you do? You have to entirely shift the existing network also onto the new network. But here I'm not only giving you as a service model, consumption based service model, but I am also ensuring that technology obsolescence doesn't hamper
Yes.
your day-to-day work. At the
Right.
end of the tenure or any time in between, if something gets changed, we can get it replaced with the latest technology. And that's the beauty of this. And we have been doing it for years now, and we are very much equipped to do it. Thank you. That's it from my side.
Interesting. Mr. Soni, final comments, before we wind up, more from a futuristic angle, maybe near term, what are some of the priorities or areas of focus for you to ensure a seamless and secure banking? Quickly.
Well, from as I was mentioning, from a balancing act of security and services and features, I think as a bank we have done a lot of things already. We are using AI and others in terms of risk scoring transactions, so that we don't. So if you remember, I was talking about the sweet spot. So to hit that.
Right.
In a non-intrusive manner, where I'm allowing some of the successful transactions or genuine ones to go through, etc. So that's one thing that's happening at the application stack layer, and that's something that we're very, very keen. We are also aware of the potential of 5G and edge computing that's just around the corner, or it's already happened in some of those cases. We've also done our bit in terms of experimenting around beacons and all of that, which we believe probably could add an element of IoT to banking. It's not gone to a production grade, but there are certain experiments that we have done using beacons to have that. So from an innovation perspective, we are trying to experiment around that. But as you know, banking is a service model. It's not a product driven model, and therefore you have to combine these experiences, be it AR, VR, and IoT and all of that. So that's something that's there on the anvil. And from a security angle, there is a zero trust architecture that is implemented. And so if you really look at it, we are, the future is going to be a completely different ballgame with the huge, amount of data flow that is happening. So you have to be prepared for that. and you have to be prepared for the fact that some of those computing is going to happen at the customer end rather than at the
Right.
back end, and therefore you have to have more security controls built around that, which includes capabilities using SD-WAN, machine learning, machine reasoning, and all of that. And that's something that we have taking steps on.
Right. Mr. Rao?
So now to conclude this, the digitalization in the banking sector specifically. So we have to take all the regulatory things and also security aspects and also the business and also the customer needs together. So adoption of cloud with the fintech partners is mandatory, and at the same time we need to be abreast with the latest technologies like blockchain technology, AI, ML, and all these areas to secure our transactions and also implement. So some of the business like this in fraud risk management solution that we are implementing AI and ML, and again blockchain also we are using some with some of the fintech companies we are testing some use cases. So there is no option that we have to go with this, and with this upgrading technology, always you have to have the latest technology in place and also the secure network, like how HP Aruba is giving us the perfect network security, and simultaneously we are using our data center. So earlier I mentioned about our private cloud. So this private cloud we have built up based on the HP Synergy and the latest infrastructure that they are providing. So obsolete, yes, it is always there. We have to be prepared for the replacement of these obsolete technologies always.
Right. Thank you everyone for your views. Mr. Soni, Abir, Madhav, Mr. Rao, thank you so much. It was pleasure having this conversation with all of you, and really nice to hear in terms of how enterprises are looking to accelerate value creation for businesses through the right mix of digital technologies, and they've taken a very cautious approach, ensured that they're secure and compliant with the regulatory norms. Great. I'll hand over this
Thank you, Ashwini, for taking us through such an enlightening and engaging session on enabling seamless and secure banking experience powered by Shro Systems and HPE Aruba. I would also like to thank all the panelists for taking the time out today and joining us. It was an absolute pleasure to listen to you all. I am sure everyone, including those in the audience, have gained valuable insights today. This is Nishant Saxena, wishing everyone a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.